Welcome to Good Sports News, youth views brought to you by young people. I'm Hannah Rodriguez, and today the Good Sports News team will bring to you some of the answers we found to the questions and topics important to us. As kids, we hear a lot about drugs, on TV and in the newspaper, especially when someone famous uses them. The more we hear about drugs, the more questions we have. Paul O'Neill went and chased down some answers.
Eleanor Costello is from the West Australian Drug and Alcohol Office. It's part of her job to educate the state on the effects of a range of drugs, so I thought she'd be a good person to talk to.
From our research, we know that the most effective way to educate young people is by giving them, the truth about what's going on. The truth is that not everybody uses drugs. Most of people don't. So from that perspective, there's no need to feel like you need to be using drugs. It's not something that young people need to be involved in. The media obviously jump on this and feed it as being the next big thing. We need to keep that in perspective and be very sensible in our decisions on how we educate young people. Given the facts and the reasonable amount of information, young people generally will make sensible decisions.
We hear a lot about illegal drugs, but I also learned that alcohol is just as bad. That's why there are campaigns like Enough is Enough. It aims to change our drinking culture. Both seem like big problems. What's the financial burden of alcohol and drugs in Western Australia?
It's something that does cost our community upwards of, in WA alone, around $750 million a year. That's a huge amount of money. So I guess from that perspective, if you're looking at a culturally acceptable drug, there's a lot of harm seen from that. Alcohol is a legal drug in our community, and as Australians we do have a bit of a drinking culture. It's quite world renowned that we have a large drinking culture actually, and it reflects in the behaviours that we see resulting from that and the problems associated with alcohol use.
Do you think sport could be used as a deterrent to keep young people away from drugs?
There is some evidence to suggest that being involved in a sport has a protective factor as you grow up, because you're active, you're involved in a community. Particularly in some regional areas, a sporting club might be the only thing that exists in that area, the only thing young people can actually do. So from a perspective of, how does that set people up for long term, I think it probably does build some resilience in young people, and certainly decision making. When you play sport, you have to make very quick decisions.
Olympic and Commonwealth Games athlete Kylie Wheeler says there's other ways to get high, like winning medals.
It's a pretty awesome feeling. I don't know if you can convey it with words, but obviously it takes years and years to get to that point in time, and you've, as I said, a lot of sacrifices and a lot of time spent just preparing, and it's not even just like sacrifices on my part, like family and friends have also made sacrifices. So to get to that stage and to finally have it all pay off, it's so rewarding, and the joy that it brings me, and as well as people who've helped get me there, is really just, it's amazing, and like if you could bottle it and sell it, I think it'd be worth $1 million.
Kylie likes to celebrate a win, but to improve her performance, she's had to train hard all of her life. Kylie says it's helped her to stay on track when she was younger.
I guess everyone faces it, and there was a crowd at school that were doing that sort of stuff. Perhaps maybe because they respected what I was trying to do, that they didn't push it upon me, but I didn't have to really try and fight to stay away from it. They sort of just respected my decision and didn't really impose it upon me, so it wasn't too hard, fortunately.
Drugs in sport should be banned. It doesn't level the playing field for others that want to compete fairly.
I think that drugs in sport are a very bad thing, because the people who use them are meant to be our role models, and then they use drugs and they give young people a really bad example and get into a lot of trouble and create a lot of hype, and it creates a bad view of people in sport.
I feel that it is a lot overexposed here, because we are such a small community compared to all the other cities in Perth, and I know that it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's just everywhere.
Thanks, Paul, for that report. Grown-ups may not believe us, but it's hard being a kid. There's a lot of pressures we face at school, at home, and in our lives. It's even tougher when you play sport. Joan Porter went and asked someone who knows how we can juggle these commitments.
This is Christy Warwick. She's a sports psychologist here at Western Australia Institute of Sport. Christy works with elite athletes, like Australian wheelchair basketball representative Brett Nicholson. We'll hear more from Brett later, while I ask Christy some questions. Is it hard to find a balance between sport and life?
It's hard for people like gymnasts, for example, who are training 35 hours a week and they're working towards the Olympics. I mean, if they want to get to an Olympic level, they've got to put in that amount of training. Yeah. So, for example, for some of the gym girls, we would have them do year 12 over 2 years. And we also have where they get lots of time to study at school, so they get a few more extra periods than other people.
When is there too much homework?
It's never really a matter of too much sport or too much homework for us, really. I mean, if it gets to a point where it's a significant problem and it's affecting a person, then we will address it. But I guess really it's about making sure there's a balance so that they can do their homework and they can do their sporting commitments and they can see their friends and they can have a life that's balanced, I guess.
Do you think it's fair to place pressure on young kids who play sport?
People can put pressure on young kids during sport, but it doesn't really help them in any way. Often the pressure comes down to comparison and you find often even through younger level and junior sports, it's all about who's the best and how do I get to be the best, and the coach is comparing them to other players, their parents are comparing them to other people, and sometimes I guess that can be a little bit of an issue.
I try to find a balance, but it's really hard to find a balance. You have to just take everything as it comes, and you just have to sit down and make your priorities right.
I don't know, I just work hard at school and I just work hard at everything I do.
If you fall behind and then there's some people who can really catch up really easily, and then some people who obviously can't. And so when that happens, then you sort of have to see whether you blame yourself or so that can be tough sometimes.